Coming up next, we're going to talk about the Fourth Amendment. He is the county coordinator for Campaign for Liberty, Dave Pritchett!
Good morning, everyone. Many of the items contained in the Bill of Rights of the United States Constitution were not just fine ideas conceived by our founding fathers, but came about because of their direct experiences with the British Crown. Such was the case with the Fourth Amendment. One of the tools used by the British revenue agents for enforcing the Stamp Act, the Navigation Acts, and the Townshend Acts was the Writs of Assistance Act. Writs of Assistance were court orders that authorized custom officers to conduct non-specific searches of premises for contraband. The exact nature of the materials being sought did not have to be detailed, nor did their locations. The powerful new court orders enabled officers to inspect not only shops and warehouses, but also private homes. It quickly became apparent to many colonists that their homes were no longer their castles under British rule. In 1761, James Otis represented Boston merchants in their challenge to the renewal of the writs. He failed to convince the court, but gained public prominence in arguing that the writs violated the colonists' natural rights. These writs were one of a list of grievances that Americans harbored against the Crown and contributed to the process of changing loyal colonists into advocates for independence. Colonists protested that the writs violated their rights as British subjects. The colonists had several problems with these writs. They were permanent and even transferable. A writ holder could assign them to another person. Any place could be searched at the whim of the holder, and the searchers were not responsible for any damage that they caused. This put anyone who had such a writ above the law. The colonists' experience with these general writs of assistance inspired the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution, which forbids search warrants, general search warrants in the United States. It reads, "The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized." Fast forward 240 years. Today, this important amendment to our Constitution is being trampled upon by the federal government. And one need look no further than the Patriot Act to understand present-day abuses. You recall the Patriot Act. It was passed on as an emergency measure within 15 minutes of completion of the writing of the text, without our representatives having read it, in the wake of the terrorist attacks of September 11th. Its stated purpose was to aid law enforcement in the searching out of the terrorist element here in the United States. In July 2009, a report by the Administrative Office of the United States Courts to Congress on the issue of delayed notice search warrants issued for fiscal year 2008 under provisions of the Patriot Act. The report stated that in 2008, 1,291 sneak and peek search warrants were written by federal agents. No approval of a judge was necessary. Of that total, only 5 were for reasons stated as terrorism, or less than 4/1000ths of a percent. The report went on to say that additional warrants had been written by agents, but not yet carried out, bringing the total number of warrants in 2008 to 1,499. Of that number, only 7 were for reasons stated as terrorism. Over 2/3 of the sneak and peek federal searches were for suspected drugs, but yet carried out under the auspices of the Patriot Act, so the judicial system could be circumvented.
That's right, Cole. Take a sip, take a sip.
Then just recently, in January 2010, the Inspector General's office at the Department of Justice issued to Congress still another report. This time, 306 pages, documenting widespread FBI abuses of the National Security Letter provision of the Patriot Act. According to the scathing January report by the Department of Justice, more than 2,000 times since 2008, the FBI has illegally collected telephone records by invoking terrorism emergencies that did not exist. The vast majority of these warrants were not for single citizens' phone records, but some self-written warrants garnered phone records for as many as 240,000 Americans at a time. In closing, the Patriot Act lets federal agents write their own search warrant. In the words of Judge Andrew Napolitano, quote, "We have come 360 degrees from fighting a revolution against a tyrannical government because it dispatched its agents to write their own search warrants, to establishing a constitution which assured us that would never happen again, and required that when the government wants anything from you, it has to be from a judge, to popularly electing members of Congress who now vote to gut the Constitution and remove the second most important right in it, and let federal agents write their own search warrants." And that's what this monstrosity of the so-called Patriot Act does, unquote. It's time that our government stop violating the rights of everyday working people who have nothing to do with terrorism, and once again follow the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution. I remind you of the words by founder Benjamin Franklin, quote, "They who give up essential liberty to gain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety," unquote.
Liberty! Freedom! Declare your independence! All right, look, right before we bring our next one, check this out. If you love your liberty and you love what the Campaign for Liberty is doing to spread liberty, we need your support. And you can head over to their table, they're right over here, and get some tickets to this upcoming wine festival, all right? Okay, fundraising, hey, we gotta be in it to win it. All right, and the teamwork makes the dream work. And